I thought someone was looking
Is cable news bad for America?
I think it is now. It's just become so far opinionated, way more so than when I got into it 15 years ago. And I feel like Americans especially only watch what they want to hear. Mm-hmm. And that has been really destructive, especially over the last 4 years.
Is there any way to roll it back?
I would say no right now because I think it's an economic decision. And I think right now it's working in that direction. But listen, I think opinion TV in the beginning of cable news was brilliant because it was right during that time where people were already getting the headlines while they were sitting at work during the day. And when they came home, they kind of wanted to see what people thought about the headlines. And even if they didn't agree with it, they wanted to see. And then it's just gone from that to, okay, now I'm only going to watch what I want to hear. And if you only watch one entity and it's maybe not giving you all of the accurate information, that's how we get into this, what I call the disinformation society.
I just want to go back to the election of 2020 and start with election night. Were you surprised by Fox's Arizona call?
Well, first of all, I wasn't watching Fox. So I heard about it, and listen, there's some great people that work there who are, straight down the line, hard news people, and specifically the people in charge of the election. I know a lot of those people, and they called it as they saw it. And they don't just do that, on a whim. That's what they believed. What I can say about Fox News now is that I see it as being rudderless and without a clear direction other than what happens to garner ratings on that particular day.
Explain what you mean by rudderless.
Well, for all of the allegations and difficulties that Roger Ailes got himself into, I don't know exactly if he would have allowed Fox to become what it is today.
Can you explain that?
Just that he did, I think, in his own mind, believe in fair and balanced. And I just think that he would have had more of a direction for where it is now. But I don't want to say anything about how I think that he's wonderful or anything like that. I just think that right now, Fox just doesn't know what it is necessarily.
Has Fox then, this is a strange question to ask you, given what happened, but has Fox deteriorated without Roger Ailes?
Not in their mind. I mean, I think they're still making billions of dollars.
Mm. And how much do you sheet home that rudderlessness to Lachlan Murdoch?
Well, I think that anybody who runs a company, the buck stops with them. They're the ultimate decision maker. And companies run because they want to increase their bottom line, but sometimes you also have to look at what's moral and right.
Just to stay with that post-election period, what was that experience for you? I appreciate you're not sitting down and watching it every night, but I can see from your social media feed that you were aware of what's going on across the media. What was it like for you watching your former network, where you had been a journalist, amplify the election fraud storyline?
I just think it's complete disservice to the American public. I have friends who watch it and who believe it. And it's a totally different story than when I went to Fox News. There's a big difference between opinion and fact. And this all started with the whole idea of fake news. Society was ripe for that idea of fake news because we live in a digital age now where everything has to be quicker than it ever was before, and mistakes can be made. And, Trump especially was good at narrowing in on that and calling it something. And then, of course, blowing it up out of proportion, and also blowing it up to be, if he didn't like something that was said about him, he just called it fake, even if it was accurate. And it just muddied the waters completely. It's completely changed the landscape of opinionated television and cable television over the last 4 years.
Did Fox play a role in January the 6th?
Yeah, I think that many Americans who came to D.C. on January 6th believe that the election was stolen.
Just one of the things that you referred to was Tucker Carlson recently had a segment running on white replacement theory. And you said that's a crock of shit, and you directed the tweet to Lachlan Murdoch. And you said, I thought when you moved to take Roger Ailes out after my lawsuit, things at Fox might really change. Instead, Fox has just gotten worse. What's got worse?
I think that they allowed the former president to dictate what news they put out to the American people. And I don't think that would have happened 4 or 5 years ago.
Under Ailes.
Correct.
Did they effectively turn Fox into the Trump channel?
I assume that Fox News was showing more of Trump than any other network. Yes. You know, they were seeing that when they showed his rallies that the ratings went up. I mean, listen, this is all a money game. This is all about ratings. This is all about the bottom line. At least I believe that that's what it's turned into.
Does that mean that this is more about money than it is about ideology?
Potentially. I mean, it used to be in the olden days where you had a show called Hannity and Colmes. You had the right opinion and the left opinion. And that was actually entertaining because you could watch it and you could say, oh yeah, well, I kind of see it that way and I kind of see it this way. That just doesn't exist anymore. I've started a podcast that's straight down the middle because I feel that that's what Americans need right now. And I had a lot of people ask me, where can I go just to get the facts? And it's hard to give that recommendation right now. And so I believe in my heart that it's a disservice to the American people to not tell the truth.
How much responsibility do you think Rupert Murdoch has for the polarization of media in America?
I don't know Rupert Murdoch to be able to comment on that.
Given his role in establishing Fox, I guess what I'm really talking about is what he has made the Fox network into. He's not the only player in that polarization, clearly. There's a whole other story in the liberal-leaning media. But in terms of Rupert Murdoch's role, we clearly have skin in that game. How responsible is he for how polarized the US media now is?
Well, I think that he's in charge of Fox News, and as I've said, the buck stops at the top. And I wish that they would get down to the facts a little bit more. People will say, well, it's up to them to be able to make up their own minds. Yes, but it's also up to the morality of news operations to provide factual information.
Is it immoral not to?
I believe it's immoral not to, yes. I believe that it's proof that opinion television has gone in a completely, far right direction.
I just wanted to go back to Tucker Carlson. I think the phrase you used is, what the fox has happened to you. What's the answer to your own question about him? I mean, I know you say he's got a powerful program, but are you talking about someone who is fashioning his ideas to suit the audience? How do you explain what the fox is happening to him?
I just like to explain at every possible turn that even though we share the same last name, I'm not related.
You don't like what he does?
I just don't agree with what he's selling to the American public right now.
What is he selling?
I just don't agree that that we're so far past anything that's factual at this point.
You said before that they give the audience what they want, but they are in control of what they say.
I just think that we're at a point now where the audience is so in the tank for whatever they say that they're believing it. And that's incredibly dangerous. Because when you can just say whatever you happen to think on any particular night, and I don't know if he has backing on it or not with facts, that is dangerous because the people watching are believing every single word.
And why is that so dangerous? Why is it not just entertainment?
I'm sure that that's what the argument would be, but I just think we're in a dangerous political climate in our country right now, sort of on the precipice of whether or not we're going to actually believe facts or we're not. And when you have a third of the American people who don't believe that Joe Biden actually won the presidency, I mean, if we would have said this 4 years ago, we would have said, what are you talking about? We're actually going to have a third of the nation that feels that way. That is the erosion of what opinion TV has done in my mind.
Why are we restricted in the way we talk about Fox?
Because I had to sign a stringent NDA when I signed a resolution with them, not knowing that we'd actually kick off a cultural revolution and that we'd actually be discussing now how women shouldn't be silenced anymore. And had I known then what I know now, I would have never signed it.
And that's a non-disclosure agreement.
It's a non-disclosure agreement, which says that I can never say anything about what happened to me there or any of the people that were involved.
Have you asked Lachlan Murdoch to release you from the NDA?
Yes. And several of us who have NDAs at Fox News after harassment claims have asked to be released from our NDAs, and we have not heard anything back.
What argument are you making to Lachlan Murdoch?
I'm making the argument that since my case, we have made immense progress in the movement to stop silencing people. And if everything has changed, then there shouldn't be a problem with letting all of us have our voices back. Because people should be able to tell their own truths.
After you left Fox, Rupert Murdoch said, there was a problem with our chief executive, sort of, over the years, isolated incidents. Were you offended by that?
That is a complete disservice to the myriad of women who worked at Fox News who were subjected to harassment and retaliation. And to all women and men across the world who have been a part of this pervasive epidemic. It's not just at Fox.
And your own sense of justice?
My sense of justice was that that company had to give me a public apology. And that never happens. And that is what has motivated me to do all the work that I've been doing for the last 5 years to make the workplace safer for everyone, is that they had to acknowledge that they were sorry for the way that I had been treated. And that's all women want to hear. And most never get that. And that's what I'm fighting for.